Answer. Because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted, and you are soon to be opinionated. It's okay to be different, and it's so okay to just be you. The world awaits to receive you.
I could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad as they was making it. You know, nobody could be around me. So for me to be this calm, I must have some kind of inner peace. And my inner peace is knowing that once everybody take the time to really see what type of person I am, you'd be surprised that I stuck around this long. I have to make the life that I do live as happy as I can and try to do the best with what I have. You know, live the best life I can live, be as happy as I can be. Nothing is perfect for anybody. I don't know.
Boys, I swear, I think I figured it out. You know why they don't want us redneck brothers and sisters and the hood brothers and sisters getting along? You know why? Because we'd be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now, we would shut shit down.
Yes, yes, yes. You already know. We will shut shit down. Unity in the community. I wanted to give you guys an update. This is the latest news on the Rodney Hinton Jr.'s case. There has been a $25 million lawsuit that has been filed against the Cincinnati police, accusing them of using excessive force against Rodney Hinton Jr. Let's get that on the screen if you have not seen it. This case is getting uglier by the
Rodney Hinton Jr., who is accused of intentionally running down Deputy Larry Henderson, filed this 5-page civil lawsuit on Thursday. He did so himself without an attorney. Hinton says his civil rights were violated. I looked through the complaints. The defendants include the Cincinnati Police Department, the Hamilton County Justice Center, and 10 unnamed officers and deputies. Hinton claims excessive force used by police during his arrest resulted in him having physical injuries. He also focused on this: Hamilton County deputies packing the room for his arraignment on May 3rd.
Good morning, Mr. Hinton.
Hinton claims that coordinated presence was, quote, clearly intended to intimidate. On Monday, protesters gathered on the steps of the Hamilton County Courthouse. We were there as the Black Panthers and other groups voiced support for Hinton.
We sick and tired.
Sick and tired.
I'm being sick and tired.
Prosecutors say Hinton targeted Deputy Henderson after watching body camera video showing a Cincinnati police officer shooting and killing his son. Authorities say 18-year-old Ryan Hinton was pointing a gun at an officer. These protesters say they didn't see one in the footage.
They don't see Ryan being shot down unnecessarily as being what caused Rodney to respond in the way that he did.
Iris Rowley with the Cincinnati Black United Front watched on Monday. She says the city has championed police reform and policy in the past 25 years, but she says when it comes to Ryan Hinton's case, there's still work to be done.
We're waiting to see preliminary review of the video footage. We're looking at all of that. It's all to be reviewed. We do not have all of the facts yet, and so we are awaiting that.
In Cincinnati, Valerie Lyons, WCPO 9 News.
All right, so what we're going to do is just look at this article, and we're going to just get a little bit more insight. You know what we like to do? We like to look at a few different articles so we can see, compare and contrast, and see what everybody's saying. So this right here is brought to you by Atlanta Black Star. Shout out to ATL. You know, Grace Levi is in the A. Let's get it. Okay. Humiliation and psychological warfare. Ohio father charged with the murder of deputy after cops kill his son, sues Cincinnati police for $25 million. Alleging abuse and intimidation after arrest. A Cincinnati man facing possible death sentence for allegedly killing a sheriff deputy. And what we're going to do is go through the timeline. We got a few different articles here. We're going to break this down to give people detailed insight. You know what we do here. We're going to read everything we get our hands on. So the Cincinnati man facing a possible death sentence for allegedly killing a sheriff deputy with his car has filed a $25 million federal lawsuit against Cincinnati Police Department and Hamilton County Hamilton County officials, accusing them of excessive force, intimidation, and violating his constitutional right during his arrest. Rodney Hinton Jr., 38, is accused of intentionally running over a retired Hamilton County Deputy Larry Henderson on May 2nd near the University of Cincinnati, a day after police fatally unalived Hinton's 18-year-old son, Ryan. Prosecutor says Hinton's actions were deliberate and motivated by anger over the killing of his son. Hinton had pleaded not guilty to aggravated murder and other charges and remained held without bond in Claremont County Jail. Filed on May 8th, the lawsuit claims that Hinton was physically assaulted while in custody, leaving him visibly bleeding by the time he appeared in court. So this wasn't even during the arrest. This is while he was already in custody. So freedom of information requests can be made for the video, even though they're going to try to hide it. But that's what people are going to do. It further alleges that the officers created a hostile and threatening environment during his arraignment by lining up in force behind him, and act described as psychological warfare designed to intimidate, punish, and humiliate him. And I think that's what we were seeing the tail end of, where his brother was trying to let him see him, and they were blocking everybody, like all of his support that was behind him. I think that is what we saw in the last clip that we have released. His brother was trying to let his brother see his face and say that we're here with you, but all of the officers were trying to block and allegedly intimidate this gentleman. No reasonable law enforcement agency would subject a pretrial defendant to the level of physical restraint, humiliation, and psychological warfare, absent of a coordinated plan to discriminate, punish, and intimidate, the lawsuit states. A spokesperson for the Hamilton County Sheriff Office declined to comment on the litigation, and the Cincinnati police have not responded to requests for comments. And we're going to get to read that if it's in public affairs. We're going to pull that up. They did this wrong, said Anthony Holloway, a close associate of Hinton, who filed the lawsuit on his behalf. According to the Cincinnati Enquirer, though not a licensed attorney, Holloway says she is serving as a legal representative. There is no need to go any further than this. She said, let him out. In addition to damages, Hinton is seeking attorney fees, and a court order declared that authorities violated his right in deeming his release from custody. Hamilton County Prosecutor Connie Pleach and Hinton targeted an unalived Deputy Henderson solely because he was a law enforcement officer. Hinton had just reviewed police body cam footage showing fatal shooting of his son the day before, and was described by Detective Carl Beebe as very distraught and agitated. Very distraught, exactly. That's why we were talking about temporary insanity, because we're going to read this case, and if this man wrote this case up good, this filing good, you already know, temporary insanity. According to the court testimony, Hinton allegedly returned to the police station after seeing the video, then drove off. Moments later, he accelerated through an intersection where Henderson, wearing a reflective vest and managing traffic for the university graduation ceremony, was standing. Beebe testified that the impact launched Henderson several feet in the air. Henderson, a 33-year-old veteran of the sheriff's office who was filling in for another officer that day, later was unalive at the hospital. And that's very unfortunate. He wasn't even assigned there. This whole event is tragic as far as people being unalive, because we are all human beings and the circumstances behind it. But as we say, we try to be unbiased and look at everybody's point of view, as well as the environmental factors, psychological factors, and historical factors that plays a part in these cases. During Hinton's May 3rd arraignment, more than 30 deputies packed the courtroom in a show of force and lining up behind him. As you see, they were blocking that window where his brother was trying to get to see him. At a May 6th, so basically the people in the back were looking at the officers and not seeing anything that was going on, which is blocking the court observation. And that is people, general public constitutional right to be able to observe cases. Okay, that is our right. So at the May 6th bond, officers again filled the gallery. The presence of dozens of law enforcement personnel was cited in the lawsuit as part of the deliberate campaign to intimidate Hinton and undermine his rights to a fair trial. Hinton's defense attorney Bennett has indicated he may pursue an insanity defense, telling the judge that his client is not in his right mind during the incident. I don't think he is a cop killer. I think he was not in his right mind. I think he should be treated like any other mental illness person that commits a crime, Bennett said. This is a classic mental illness criminal conduct. The courtroom proceeding has been tense and emotional. During a May 6 hearing, chaos erupted as a man yelled that's my brother, and had been removed from the police. Moved by police. Cries and screams from Hinton supporters filling the room as officers struggled to maintain order, or escalated, as we saw. Video footage captured of the scuffle of dozens of the family members and protesters clashing with authorities. Outside the courtroom, Hinton family expressed anguish over the events that led to the deputy's death and called attention to what they described as an unjust killing of 18-year-old Ryan Hinton. So as we stated in the last video, that there may be a possibility that that car was not stolen, that they were casing the car illegally with a tow truck company for several hours while these young boys slept in the car and just decided to move forward. We're going to verify that story, but I think that is the underlying story that's coming out. So this is breaking: Cincinnati police officer unalive and killed 18-year-old black kid. All right, Ryan was running away from the officer after being told to stop. Okay, running doesn't mean that you're supposed to die or get shot. Officer shot him because he believed his life was in danger. Yeah, we have serious issue with that. And we're going to keep on highlighting the kit and caboodle that the officers always do. Get your hands off my gun. Get your hands off my gun. Stop resisting the game. And we're pretty much sick of it at this point. So Teresa Larkin, Ryan's aunt, tearful, defend her nephew because we're gonna get justice for Ryan because what they did to him was not right. She called Hinton emotional state after seeing the video of his son being gunned down. It was like his soul wasn't even in his body. Okay. Ryan's grandmother, Tyan Larkin, also spoke out saying that she wants answers about the police shooting that took her grandson's life. I want to find out exactly what steps was taken in the protocols, she said. And even if everything comes out that it's not what it should have been, we need to do something about changing the training and diversity and understanding us as the Black culture. The fatal chain of events began on the morning of April 30th when officers with the Department Fugitive Apprehension Squad located a stolen SUV. Allegedly, we're still confirming that story. An officer approached 4 suspects led on foot, and they said these young men were asleep in the car. Who sleeps in the stolen car? Okay, that doesn't even make sense, but I have to question because our youth is a little weird. So body cam footage shows Ryan Hinton falling to the ground, then getting up and continuing fleeing. The footage does not clearly show a weapon, but officers claim they saw him armed and heard a gun fall when he stumbled. Ryan ran between two dumpsters where another officers were waiting with weapon drawn. Gun. The officer can be heard yelling just before the shatter of the bullets. Ryan was shot multiple times and pronounced unalive at the scene. And I promise you, on that autopsy, you're going to see several of those bullets in his back, because he never once that we saw turn towards the officers. So police claim later recovering a gun with the extended magazine near the scene, and was as an additional magazine in Ryan's sweatshirt pocket. Previously, Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa said that there's no evidence that Teen fired the weapon. Tingy said another officer had warned Ryan was armed, but acknowledged the body cam footage doesn't fully confirm what officers claim they saw. The shooting remains under investigation by the Cincinnati Police Homicide Unit. This community, our city, our county, has had 2 critical incidents in 2 days, Tinsley said, and at a time. Let the investigation play out. All right, so It says when Officer Henderson was struck and killed, Hamilton County Chief Prosecutor issued a statement promising swift and device action. But you're not going to do swift and device action against the police who shot the baby. But y'all not going to do that. But we're going to move forward. It is very disturbing because they don't look at this young black boy as a baby, but I do. 18 is a baby, but they will look at Caucasian kids as baby. And we're going to highlight that. We're not going to let them control the narrative, lie anymore. We know what this is. This is more than a civil rights issue in America. This is actually a humanitarian issue. And once black people start to get together, they're going to realize that they can take their grievances on a national level, because this is literally genocide against black people in America. We have more than enough proof to show and cases to show that there is an orchestrative alliance against black America, our youth, our finance, our way of living, and everything, our life. And if we were to go into the international setting, America will, in my opinion, be charged with genocide. But we're going to move forward. Later on, we'll talk about the requirements for, on a national level, for a country to be deemed involved in genocide. As, for example, you see how our United States go to other countries and say, hey, you're doing genocide on your people. We're going to come in and stop you. We're going to give you international violations. That's what needs to go on in America. That's where we need to expand Black America, because right now we already know on a federal level that nothing is going to happen. Trump is going to let everything play out. He wants us to suffer and literally die. And I'm just going to keep it real and be deported. You see what's going on. There's no more hiding it. And I feel so bad for some of the people who are really open their eyes, and the veil is being pulled off, because us as Black people had a lot of hope in white America. We do. We live with you every day. We know, as you know, I biblically study this stuff. Esau is from Shem, but you already know what happened with Esau. We did a little video on that of basically how Esau hates Jacob. And this is biblical, okay? This is something that you guys are going to have to deal with. But if you read the book, and yes, we are, and we're going to say Shabbat Shalom to everyone, because I am a Hebrew woman, recompense will come according to the book. But we ain't going to get too biblical on you guys. We'll save it for those type of shows that we do. But if you have not seen where we did our talk through of who is Esau and Jacob, once you watch that and listen to the story, you will understand why our blood Shem cousins, Esau, from Esau and Jacob, hates us. And this is biblical. But at the end of the day, recompense is going to come, and us as Black people, we're going to have to stand strong, unite in solidarity, and continue to do this. Continue to have our platforms talk up and not let them control the narrative. So what we're going to get to is, let's see if we can get to a timeline of what we know about the death of the 18-year-old Ryan and Deputy Larry Henderson. I think it's going to pretty much say the same thing. But let's just get to this real quick. And I think this is brought to you by Cincinnati WCPO. Let's put this on the screen so we could break this down, because we're still trying to hear a little bit more of what's going on. And I do believe there's some things that's missing. If you have not, check out our reels. We have an allegedly where we found out that this car was not stolen, but allegedly late on payments. There is more coming out that they were allegedly scoping out this car for hours with the Cincinnati police in the tow truck, which is not legal. But let's move forward. Now, this is the timeline on May 1st, 2025, shortly after 10 a.m. Now, we allegedly know that they've been watching this car since before 10 a.m. So we're going to get that information. We're going to present it to you in later broadcasts, because we're going to continue to keep our eye on this. But shortly after 10 a.m., the Cincinnati police officers fire multiple shots. How you just start from shortly after 10 a.m.? They don't even go into what happened previously. How was the car identified? Who called the car? Who found the car? These are the things that we need to know. So Cincinnati Police Department, Mr. Cunningham sent out messages to the media out about the shooting. CPD police involved shooting near 250 block. Please respond to the media stage area. Hold on, so that don't mean anything. Now, shortly after 11, Cincinnati police, Teresa, that's when she did her press conference, and then roughly around 7 p.m., Cincinnati sent a press release to the media saying that they would hold a press conference the following day at 11 o'clock to discuss the case. On a Friday, May 2nd, shortly after 9:30 a.m., Ryan family, including his father, Rodney Hinton Jr., viewed the body cam footage of the Cincinnati officer unaliving his 18-year-old son. Michael Wright, one of the family attorneys, said that they spent about an hour and a half in the Chief Tegley's office. What we saw was disturbing, said Wright, who was retained by Ryan's family to investigate the shooting. Around 9:50, according to the prosecutor, Rodney Hinton left. Like he left the police station after watching the video. During the interview with radio host Lincoln Ward on his show, The Buzz, Tegley confirmed Ryan Hinton walked out while reviewing the footage. At 10:37, Ryan left the police station with another family member and left his vehicle in the parking lot of the police station. And that's what I was wondering. I said, did they let that man leave by himself? Because they knew he was distraught, so he didn't. From there, Hinton County Prosecutor Connie said the family went to the Findlay Market for food. Though Rodney couldn't eat, according to Felice, the family all went to go home together, where Rodney took a nap. Tegley had a press conference with media showing clips of the body camera footage with the shooting of the killing of Ryan. So he went home to take a nap. Now, remember, they went to eat, went home to take a nap. So he probably woke up and saw this footage. The body cam footage was blurry and short. Just 6 seconds elapsed between when the subjects jumped out of the vehicle and when the officers fired at Ryan. The same thing that happened in the Alexis Wilson case. Love and blessings to Alexis Wilson, that was unalived by Dalton police in less than 30 seconds after jumping out of the car. These cops have no training. They seem like they are only trained to kill when they see black face. Yes, when they see black face. It's so bad that even in the Tyree Nichols case that they're able to brainwash our own black men and women in a police station to have them look at their own counterpart as dogs, as animals. Okay, guys? Let me just go to the left a little bit. I know they have this thing called black fatigue, and I didn't go deep into this, but I think it's a whole bunch of bullshit at this point. But their black fatigue is where we're getting basically sick and tired of each other. How can we be sick and tired of each other when we're not sick and tired of the nations that's actually debilitating us and keeping us down? But you're mad at the outcome of what this situation has come. So we may address that little trend where it's black fatigue, but we don't really do those things here. We kind of just do the law cases and run them down. But I will talk about some of the trending things. That's nonsense. Black people, you're tired of yourself and you hate yourself if you have black fatigue. I'm sick. I got black sickness of the hate that always been here, that never went away. That's why I never fake the funk at the end of the day. You can smell hate, you can breathe hate, literally. Okay? And now is the time for it to be basically unboxed. And I am grateful for the day. It's sad to say, but I am grateful for the day now that we're able to see what this America actually stands for. And this is a human rights violation that should be taken on an international note. There is too many cases that we are seeing unravel back to back that it will show on an international level. If we go to the humanities, we go to the Human Rights Division on the international level to show that it is modern genocide going on in America. So after 11 o'clock, let's just get back to the article. We have the deputy, or who was it? At the 11 o'clock, the press conference was held about what happened. All right. And Ryan got back up and ran between two dumpsters. This is what they said. We're going to get into that in more detail. It says, now, here's why Cincinnati police released the body cam footage so quickly. It says why. It says afternoon. It says here's why. Let's see. Because I was kind of confused of why they would let them see it so fast. And I want us to have transparency when this happened, but that is a direct cause of why this happened. You cannot kill someone's baby and expect them not to have any feeling on anything, especially we're in a system where Trump is dismantling all of our rights. This is psychological warfare on the whole United States level. Let's play this real quick.
He was accused of killing Deputy Larry Henderson one day after his son was killed by a police officer.
This happened just hours after CPD showed Hinton and other family members video of that deadly shooting. And many of you have commented online saying the release of body cam footage in just 24 hours seems rushed, especially for a grieving family.
Yep.
WCPO 9 News reporter Andrew Rowan explains why that timeline is standard protocol for Cincinnati police.
As the chief for the city of Cincinnati and this police department, my commitment is to transparency.
Police Chief Teresa Thigi telling the Buzz radio host Lincoln Ware about the moments she reviewed body camera footage with the Hinton family.
I think like any family member, they were all distraught over what they just saw.
Did he get up abruptly and just walk out of the room, or did he?
He did leave the room, yes.
All of a sudden, he left the room.
Yeah,
Okay.
he walked out.
Whenever there is a police shooting, body camera footage is released 24 hours after that shooting. A police lieutenant tells me that is standard protocol put into place by Police Chief Teresa Thigi herself.
I have nothing to hide. I will share whatever I can share throughout
Even if
this
it's not
process.
favorable for the police, you will share.
Yeah, I will always share what information, what factual information I have.
3 investigations are simultaneously underway, one by the homicide unit, one internally, and one by the Citizens Complaint Authority. The city is relying on its collaborative agreement, a document that's become a national model for community police relations, born out of the civil unrest in 2001 when an officer shot and killed Timothy Thomas.
My ask is for them to be patient and show why we are the gold standard of police community relations.
In a statement, Mayor Aftab Purival said in part the collaborative agreement was built for our most challenging time. He said transparency and accountability are being put front and center in this process. Reporting downtown, Andrew Rowan, WC.
I'm going to be honest, that was the question that I asked too. Why would they show it so fast? And it's like a catch-22 there, because we know some situations where we're never getting a body cam. Like, we're barely seeing any bits of pieces of it. I.e., if y'all follow my channel, in the Alexis Wilson case, it took so much, and it's still taking so much for me to get the body cam and investigation information from the Illinois State Police that in this incident happened 3 years ago. So I guess they're saying that they are proving the gold standard of policing, and this is why, but that doesn't make sense psychologically. I do think that there should be a 3 to 5 day wait period, honestly. Even if she's ready to release it, she should release it. Point taken. She should release everything. And that'll give them time to do more an investigation of everything instead of just showing bits and pieces of it and not having the full idea of what happened. So that is kind of, I'm going to say, kind of not effective. I'm gonna say that is not a good approach, honestly, to release the body cam in 24 hours, because you didn't even get a full story. You didn't even get everybody's statements in. I think 3 to 5 days would be better. You let me know in the comments, what do you think? But it's still a blessing that she would even commit to releasing the body cam, i.e., as you know, I've been fighting to get body cam footage for the Alexis Wilson case.
CPO 9 News.
So last week's shooting was the 6th time in 9 weeks that Greater Cincinnati law enforcement officers had shot someone.
The WCPO 9i team's been looking into those
6 times in 9 weeks? Oh, yeah, we having a little issue. Let's finish. 6 times in 9 weeks? Wow.
incidents to see if there's anything that we can learn from them. I-Team reporter Dan Monk in studio right now to share what he found. Dan?
Well, Tanya, I sat down with former UC Police Chief Gene Ferrara, who has been involved in law enforcement training for more than 50 years. And we talked about that recent spate of shooting incidents in Covington and Lockland, Florence, Claremont County, not to mention 2 since early March in the city of Cincinnati. He said there is a lot to be learned from the lot of those cases, but not what's causing them right now.
Number one, that's a lot. But if you're looking for why, there's no why. There's no.
There's no why. There's no why when you have a racist, ignorant president in the White House that's pushing all forms of silent segregation. And it's not silent because he's blatantly doing it. There's no why. That's why we're here. Hit the like button because we're not going to let them control the tone. There is a why. There is a background of what's happening. There isn't a tone in society that's right now that's creating this. Thank you to Trump. Thank you. Good job for letting white America, the ones who hate, because y'all know how Grace Levi feel, the ones who hate show their face. Thank you.
They're all random acts.
So can you tell me why there've been 6 in the last several weeks?
No, I think the most important thing for people to understand is police officers are not trained to act. They're trained to react. What the officer does is contingent upon what the person that they are confronting.
And it's not supposed to be reactive, so it should be a response. That's the problem. Y'all already know we talk about emotional intelligence here. And what we don't do is react all the time. It's called response. Okay, get all the facts, try to understand what's happening, and then response. Now we know in an officer situation it's not easy to pull all the facts, but I will say this, and I'm going to say it all the time: the same degree of integrity, the intensity that I have to face as a registered ICU nurse, and we can't just react. We have to respond accordingly to our training in the midst of, having to respond in less than a minute. I cannot commence to what he's saying. Just like y'all expect us as frontline workers. I am, the people who don't know, I'm a legal nursing consultant, travel nurse for over 11 years. I just stopped working in the ICU, but I have been in all types of ICU. And no matter if it wasn't the ICU, in healthcare, it's about our response. If we had a reaction, usually that person is going to die. Because that's a reaction is not a response. Reactions are not usually logical. Emotional intelligence. That's what we do here. That's what we do. I get a little frustrated at times, but baby, not this. Not this. This is not acceptable.
Nothing does.
But there is one obvious difference between Cincinnati's handling of these cases compared to other departments. Cincinnati releasing body cam video within a day of both incidents. Other departments took up to 17 days. And Ferrara told me that he wouldn't be surprised if that approach comes under review in the weeks ahead.
Oh, yes, it would, because you need time for people to grieve. You need time for an investigation. That's very irresponsible. That is very, very irresponsible. So what we're going to be doing is keeping our eyes on what's going on with this situation. We wanted to give you guys an update on the new lawsuit that was filed, and we were made up to date today. If you like the information that we're sharing here, please do like, share, and subscribe. We will continue to keep you up to date on what's going on. Let's take a few pictures of Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. As you can see, the bruises on his head. You can see the bruises on his face. Okay? And then, as we already mentioned, and we show a whole bunch of Caucasian police all around the window, blocking observers from coming in. And this is Rodney Hinton Jr. saying, I want to see my brother. I want to see his face. We want to see that he's okay. And they can't, because they blocked the whole view of the courtroom, and no one was able to see the courtroom. It's ridiculous. No one was able to see the courtroom. So this was his brother being escorted out, as you saw in the last video that we dropped. This is a very heart-wrenching and traumatizing situation for the Black community to see, to watch, and everything. I promise. This is very, very traumatizing. And this is psychological warfare on us. And I want to send shout out to my favorites out there who were in the inbox and we're talking. I know that this can be very troubling for you. I pray that God give you guys the strength to go through this, because a lot of people have been socially blinded and spiritually blinded about this. Us as Black people, literally naive, because we want to have hope in our counterparts, our Shemitic brothers. Yeah, y'all already know what we do here. All right. So with that goes to say, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us. We will keep you updated on what's going on with this case and other cases. Please hit the like button.
Today, we learn more about what led up to Deputy Larry Henderson's death.
Prosecutors laying out the timeline of events leading up to Rodney Hinton Jr.'s allegedly hitting and
Today, we learn more about what led up to Deputy Larry Henderson's death.
Prosecutors laying out the timeline of events leading up to Rodney Hinton Jr.'s allegedly hitting and killing that deputy. News 5 anchor Chris Jacobs joins us right now to walk us through the new details that we've learned in court. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, hey guys. Well, this is a very short timeline. All of this happening over the course of just a few hours. According to testimony today from Cincinnati officer Carl Beebe, at 9:30, we know members of the Hinton family went to CPD's criminal investigation section to watch body cam video of Ryan Hinton being shot by an officer. Now, Beebe says around 10:30, the family left CIS and Rodney Hinton Jr. was too upset to drive, so he got into a car with family members and left his car at CIS. Then he came back around 2 hours later to get his car, and Beebe says Hinton got into his car and left, followed by his family, but then circled back and drove through the CIS parking lot again at 12:49 before he headed toward Clifton. Now, at the same time, Deputy Larry Henderson was standing at a traffic control box to cycle lights for UC's graduation. Officer Beebe says at about 1 p.m., Hinton went left of road markers through the intersection of MLK and Burnett Woods Drive and hit Deputy Henderson and a utility pole. Beebe says Hinton never tried to stop or to turn. Now, Officer Beebe says Hinton didn't try to run off afterwards either, and he was still in his car by the time a second deputy showed up. And Beebe says there were cameras that captured the incident, including one on a bus. Chris Jacobs, WLWT, News 5.
I could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad.